Doug? Hi. Call to order the regular meeting of City Council for May 15th. Roll call.
Mayor Brinkman?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Stallman? Councilmember Beckman?
Here.
Councilmember Cernanik?
Present.
Councilmember Cole? Here. Councilmember Taylor?
Present.
Councilmember Valdez?
Present.
Okay, will you all rise with the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, we do have an addition, the proclamation for the EMS Medical Services Week. Are we going to do that now? Okay. This week is the week of May 20th, actually, through the 26th is Emergency Medical Services Week. So we have a document making a proclamation to such, and we do have some of our EMS guys here. Do you guys want to come on down? Certainly it goes without saying that, but I will say that the work of the EMS in Littleton and really throughout the country is tantamount to the safety and the quality of life for any community. And we are honored really to have, I think, probably the best with our Littleton Fire Rescue and our partnership with Rural Metro. And I want to thank you guys for all that you do. And there may be 1 week proclaiming, but it's 24/7, 365. And thank you so much. Let me sign this. Hand it to you. Wayne, do you want to say anything? Do you want to say anything? You want to go to the mic?
I'd like to thank the council and the staff for all their support over the years. We've built one of the finest EMS systems in the country here, and we provide wonderful care, and our customers really like what we do. For this year is the first year we put all of our customer service data in our annual report, which is online, and the data is wonderful. Also, our partnership with Rural Metro of Colorado, who've been here coming up on 5 years, and they do a wonderful job. So I want to thank them, and of course all the staff support over the years that has helped make this system what it is today. So thank you.
And can you take the opportunity to introduce yourself and the Rural Metro representative?
Okay, I'm Wayne Zigowitz. I'm the EMS chief with the fire department. I've been here about 20 years. This is David Patterson. He's the executive officer for Rural Metro of Colorado.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, moving to the minutes. Need approval for the minutes of study session from April 24th. Any changes? Okay, those are approved. And the minutes from the regular meeting of May 1st. Any changes? Those are approved. Okay, comments and reports, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple short ones. One, the mayor and I actually this was last Saturday, attended, there was a leadership training through Arapahoe Community College, and the mayor and I were invited to spend an hour and a half, I think it ended up being about 2, with this leadership group. And it was just a reminder that we cannot over-communicate enough. The basic understanding of what local government is, the relationship between local government as a municipality, the multitude of special districts, the county, the state, and the federal government, and how the interconnectedness, I think I had even forgotten some of the complexities until we were trying to communicate it. So it was just a great reminder to me, and pass along to all of you, that you cannot over-communicate enough on what our roles and responsibilities are. And then the mayor may speak to this in a little bit more depth as well, but on think it was on May 11th, whichever day that was, we had the Arvada Urban Renewal Authority come down, and the mayor briefly welcomed them, and then she had to go off to a ribbon cutting. But we spoke with them about what has occurred with our 2 light rail stations, talked about learning experience, pros and cons of what we've had. I thought they were a very articulate group. They're working on their research because the Gold Line, I think, or the West Line, excuse me, is supposed to open 2016, somewhere in that time frame, and so they're doing their due diligence now to put their land uses in place, start to, just as we heard from Glendale a few moments ago in the study session, they're trying to put those parts and pieces together as well. So it was nice to be able to host them, and I think they left here being pleased and feeling like their time here was well used for them. And I think the last thing is, and I hate to do these kind of updates, but the phone is ringing. We are meeting with developers. There's nothing for public consumption yet, but there's a lot of activity going on, and Glenn and I are continuing, our planning director, wherever the camera is, we are continuing our outreach, talking about what's changed in Littleton. We're open for business. We want to work with folks, and we're now having people take us up on that to a fairly great extent, and at the appropriate time, and when I can publicly discuss that, I'll talk to you about it. But people are coming in, and they're saying, okay, we're hearing this. We want to come do business in town. Banks are starting to call us again. Development is occurring. We're getting word on contracts on properties, and so there's a lot of activity that's out there. So I think we're as well staged. There's a couple folks who are getting caught in the crux of the code changes and those kind of things, but the intention is there, and I think it's being heard out in the community. So,
Thank you. Kirsten?
I don't have anything.
Bruce?
Attended another planning meeting for the Littleton Community Retreat, which will occur depending upon what the planning committee decides in either a year from now or maybe 18 months from now or perhaps 2 years from now. They're doing a lot of planning for a retreat that would be significant to all members of the community and would address many of the same issues that the city, the schools, South Suburbans, and some of the other major providers of service in the Littleton area are trying to evaluate at this time. So the reason for the delay is because some of these entities have some programs that will complete in the 6, 9, or 12-month range, and those could be incorporated. But the Littleton Community Retreat is definitely something that will occur and now has a web page, and you can find it at Littleton Community Retreat. Thank you.
Thank you. Phil?
Yes, the South Suburban Park and Rec District Board elections were completed last Tuesday. Scott LaBrache and Sue Rosser were the elected candidates, and subsequent to that, John Ostermiller was elected as president of the board for South Suburban, so that's certainly there. Earlier today, I emailed to the council a report around the South Metro area real estate that is produced in conjunction with the Economic Development Group within the South Metro Denver Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Legislative Action Committee session end report for 2012. And you can view those documents. In that, you can see that House Bill 1161, the Looper bill that we had discussed, was supported by the chamber, although it died. And as the local newspapers have been covering, we all understand what it means to have a bill die now. So that did occur. And remember that May 20th in Progress Park, right? You going to talk about that? No. Okay. Gathering of the community in Progress Park, and Kay Wilshire has put invitations out to us, and so I'll let you cover it. It's in your district. So I'll leave that for my fellow council member to cover. So.
Okay.
Relay. I'll start with that one. That is the summer kickoff event. That is a city-sponsored event, is it not?
I'm sorry.
The summer kickoff event over at Promise Park.
It is. It is. We put in a small amount of money into it, but yes, it is under our staff that it is brought together, but we have a large amount of volunteers, but it's under our umbrella, yes.
and it is Sunday the 20th, and it is from 4 to 7 p.m. Among other things, there will be a coloring contest, of which I am an expert at coloring, so I am a judge. Also, today is Peace Officers Memorial Day. You may have noticed that the U.S. flag throughout the country are flown at half staff today, and it's a Peace Officers Memorial Day and Police Week to pay tribute to the local, state, and federal law enforcement officers who have served and protected us with courage and dedication. Doesn't get a lot of ink, but that's a pretty good deal. Somebody asked me just before we came in here, why are the flags at half staff? Also, last Tuesday, a few of us attended the East Elementary, their first annual leadership day. There, the students, they're learning what it takes to become a leader. They're also learning about the behavior and how to be part of a solution that leads to positive results. They are learning about self-confidence, and they are learning how to properly greet someone with confidence, a handshake, and eye contact. And I know Councilwoman Cole was there, and Mr. Taylor was there. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Peggy?
Just one thing, I think. I mean, and the event, school event was incredible. The students from kindergarten up, all just incredible with their leadership skills. I mean, the program is the leader in me. It's not dominating. It's how can I help collaboratively solve problems, starting with myself and then working with others. So really impressive. And I think I'm also a judge in the art contest at Progress Park, so that will be nice. Just for council's benefit, the museum board is working on a policy to propose to council about naming facilities and things. They did once over last week, then they will review that next month, so I'm assuming it'll be about 5 or 6 weeks before that would come to council. And I think that's all. But one issue, I'm really pleased, as we all are, I think, that our revenues are up a little bit, but I hope we'll be a little cautious given the turmoil that is existing in parts of the world that could really take down everybody. So want us to just be a little cautious.
Jim?
Yes. The field elementary kids are just absolutely amazing what they can do these days. I was absolutely floored about what kindergartners can do that used to be junior high age kids were doing. So it was really very impressive. Last Thursday, we had a city tree planting. It was city staff, South Suburban staff, some members of the Rotary Club and members of the Optimist Club, along with Councilwoman Cole and myself, and we planted 66 evergreen trees that morning. There will be some larger trees going to be planted by a contractor in the next 2 or 3 weeks that were too big for volunteers to plant. Then the CML policy meeting was last Friday by phone. We've got 2 amendments coming up to our policy committee to be voted on at the June conference, one having to do with transportation. It was combining a couple of policies into something that's hopefully going to be a little more clear. And the second one is going to be dealing with supportive education and how it benefits cities. So those will be discussed at the business meeting at the June conference. Dr. Cog, the annual awards banquet was held on May the 2nd at the History Colorado Museum. The Sustainable Communities Regional Planning Grant met at the Denver Athletic Club yesterday and had his guest speaker, Cabinet Secretary Sean Donovan. Meeting went from 7:30 to 12:30, so it was a half-day long meeting. The executive committee for the Sustainable Committees meets tomorrow morning at 7, and we'll have our meeting downtown at that. I don't think it'll last quite 4 hours or 5 hours. And then the board of directors will be meeting tomorrow night. At the Board of Directors meeting, though, there's funding scheduled to be voted on for Broadway and Mineral, about $200,000, for South Santa Fe and Dad Clark Gulch on the southbound for reconstruction is a little over $2 million for that, and the design for the northbound, which is less than $1 million for design of that replacement bridge. And there's some work on C-470 being voted on tomorrow night. And that's it.
Thank you. Jerry?
One item. I received an email, I think Charlie did as well, about some folks concerned that Broadway was going to be widened at some point, and Mr. Blossom did address that email completely, but as far as I know, it's just a rumor, and it's not going to happen, is my understanding. So, and thank you for addressing that, Charlie. Thank you. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. A couple of items I have. One is that our last regular meeting, I believe it was a regular meeting, we did have an exec session where we did a 6-month kind of check-in with our city manager. And I think it's something that, it was done in exec session because it's a personnel issue and because it's an opportunity to discuss that employee's status and the level of satisfaction or dissatisfaction that the employer, being the council, has. So I won't disclose any of the particulars, but I think it's fair that the community know that this council is very supportive of Michael Penny, and we are in awe of what he has accomplished in his first 6 months and how quickly he was able to jump in and adapt and the positive changes that we've seen. And I think that there's certainly amongst staff and I know amongst council, and I think we all feel it within the community, a level of anticipation and excitement about what's next. So we are very thrilled to be on this journey, and I think that Michael and the staff that he's putting together and the staff that we have, our new city attorney and council, I think that the team is built and the forward motion is very positive. So on behalf of council, just to let the community know, this is a well-honed machine, and it's doing a lot of things right, and we hope that you're all enjoying the ride too. Along with that, Jim mentioned that Dr. Cog had their annual awards banquet on May 2nd, and Jim's too humble to say anything, but he was honored at that ceremony for his service on the board as the past chair. And I think that it's absolutely amazing the work that you have done, Jim, on the Dr. Cog board and the work that you've done to contribute to the forward motion of that group in terms of the regional collaboration and cooperation throughout the region. And you were specifically honored for your service as the past president, but there were special notes made concerning what you've done on a regional level. And I think that one of the things that I'm learning, the more I see more of the regional activity, and being mayor, I think I'm being exposed to more of that than I had been as a council person, is how we really are not individual cities on many, many issues. We really are a larger group, and working towards the benefit and the improvement and the growth of that region is helping each of us individually. And you have that vision, and you've shared that vision with your role on Dr. Cog and with your role in service of the community on council and the boards and commissions and different groups that you've worked on. And I thank you for that and share the accolade that you were given that night.
Thank you.
Amazing job. You're welcome. Okay, and I think it's kind of cool you got your laptop tonight.
Congratulations, Jim.
No paper except just the agenda.
I know. We are flying without paper tonight.
Great,
So hold on. I got to get to my screen. Okay. I do, okay, we have no guest citizens tonight, and we have no scheduled public presentations. I do have an unscheduled public appearance from someone who's signed up. This is also an opportunity if anyone in the audience would like to come down and address council at this time on any issue. You are welcome to do so. We do have some public hearings this evening on the agenda, so you'll have an opportunity to speak to those at that time. So if you have anything you want to address that's outside of that, please come down. First, though, I'd like to ask Jeff Powers to come on down. And Jeff, would you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Jeff Powers. Our address for our business is 2 West Dry Creek Circle here in Littleton. We're in the corner of Broadway and Dry Creek. My fiance and I have a business called Potomac Limited. We've been in business for 9 years, and the last 7 in Littleton, where we also own a home. We do classes for concealed carry permits and women's security measures. We wanted to offer our students the ability to special order a limited number of handguns from us at a discount. We received approval from the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms for a license allowing us to sell through our office. Then we were denied by zoning, saying we weren't zoned for retail. Now, we are in an office complex, and I understand not wanting a retail store there, but we have no inventory on the premises. We are not open to the public. We are by appointment only to our students. And it's similar to other businesses in the area. There's a videographer who does videos of weddings and corporate events and sells CDs to his clients. There is a financial planner that offers a software program to his clients, and is an ancillary business to us, but we would like to be able to offer it. Our lease is up in a month, and unless we can find some way around this or some exemption, we're going to be forced to move our office to Greenwood Village, where we were approved. So I was just hoping there was some way around this or something I might be missing on that. So I want to thank you for your consideration.
Could you say the name of your business one more time?
Pardon me.
The name of your business?
Potomac Limited?
Thank you.
I have your information, and we will get this into the hands of those who can give you an answer, and someone will be back in touch with you. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address council?
Tom.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tom, come on down.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for your time, and thank you to the citizens of Littleton as well. My name is Tom Grushka, and I am a concerned citizen.
Give us your address real quick,
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry.
Thank you.
Tom Grushka, 1631 West Canal Circle, Unit 814. And I am here tonight because I am a concerned citizen, and I am running for the RTD Board of Directors. And the reason I'm running is because I would like to see more inclusion and of the city councils and the citizens who are paying taxes for their public transit service. I would also like to cut some costs. I know there have been some recent service cuts to RTD, and a lot of the costs can be cut through the paratransit service, which costs $52 per passenger trip. I'm looking at integrating non-dedicated vehicles into that. I also want to partner with the local businesses in the city to help bring people in, maybe from near and far alike, local residents as well as hopefully tourists who are coming to Denver. I would like to improve our public transit to get more tourists to come in and shop here locally and spend their money in our area. So those are some of the reasons that I'm running, and I just wanted to introduce myself to you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. And again, my name is Tom Grushka. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
And I'm also circulating petitions, so I would like the opportunity, if anyone here would be willing to sign my nominating petition, I'll stay until after the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and Jim?
Yeah, there's a couple of general comments I'd like to make. Number one, since Denver has done a ban on camping, and I'm sure that our citizens are quite curious about how that may have effect on suburbs, I wonder about having a news release about what we do in Littleton with how we're protecting our parks and open spaces and drainage ways, and get a news release out that will go to the general public and maybe post on the website, because I'm sure that as this ordinance takes effect by the end of the month, we're going to have a lot of people who are very curious as to what impacts it's going to have on suburbs. And since we're a first-ring suburb, I think it's important to get information out to the citizens. And secondly, the letter from the governor about the nutrients before the commission, I strongly believe that we should consider court action because we're being discriminated against with what he put in his letter. Because not everybody's got to comply with the rules and regulations, and I think that's extremely unfair, particularly since some of the ones that are exempt are upstream of us, which means that it's going to impact us at our sewer plant. So I think that if there's any way to consider legal action to not be discriminated against, I would certainly urge we do that.
Thank you. Anything else? Anyone else? Okay.
Could we clarify the difference? I mean, I think I know this, but I'll see if I say this right. We have been a, what do we call it, point source evaluated, and we're now being changed into whatever, from spill off or runoff, whatever, will be monitored for whatever is in the river from any source, not just what comes out of our wastewater treatment plant. And that's part of this huge, huge impact potentially on us. So I just want to clarify.
I think, Becky, what you're talking about is the point impact as opposed to the reservoir, what resides in the reservoir, where lots of folks can contribute to what actually ends up in the reservoir, but our level of requirements on what we have to clean the water to is established by something that is actually further downstream from where we are and has many folks that will contribute. And as Jim mentions, it will be even folks that are upstream from us that are contributing to that, that may end up in being a more stringent requirement for us, for which we're being discriminated, our wastewater treatment plant that we share with Englewood.
Right.
Okay. Yes.
Just to add to what Jim mentioned, I have this sense as I'm reading the various lack of progress being made on this issue, the lack of success of the Senate bill, the fact that now we have the governor writing the letter that he wrote, which really isn't as reflective of our situation as we'd like it to be, perhaps, and some of these other things that are going on, that Councilman Taylor's talking about us getting proactive, and I think that may be where we are. I know we've had study sessions with Englewood, and we're talking about it in great detail at the staff level, but my sense is something has to be done to establish our position sooner rather than later, and I want to support what Jim's saying.
Michael?
So we are continuing to follow the Colorado Nutrient Coalition, and that's, I think, where the appropriate, at least initial phase of that. And we are meeting our monthly supervisors meeting is actually this Thursday, so I know we'll be talking about that in the response to the governor's letter. And so we need to, as much as possible, I think, play with the Colorado Nutrient Coalition, because there's more of us in that, more than just us going. And I understand to some extent the frustration on the timing, but these are long, slow processes. And so in the scheme of our council meetings versus EPA and water quality control meetings and everything, I think we're in a good place at this time. I met with John from, I can't remember his last name, from Centennial Water, and he is one of the leaders of the Colorado Nutrient Coalition. And so he's got some ideas as well, and so I think, again, trying to keep that coalition together and moving forward in a collaborative fashion, and if that's a legal action that we ultimately take, that's an appropriate. As I think we told you last time, we are continuing through Dave Robbins, our attorney, looking at what we can do, and our our testimony at that was really to set the stage for our ability to go after some of those legal components. So that door is definitely open for us, but to the extent that we can stay with CNC, it's less expensive if nothing else. But I think there's power in numbers. So we'll keep you updated, and post Thursday's meeting, if there's anything, I'll certainly get that information out to you. So, but we hear you loud and clear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we can meet Mr. Councilman Taylor's request for getting the information online and out to the public about what the laws are in Littleton relative to camping in the public spaces.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving to consent agenda. 7A, Humane Society of South Platte Valley funding request. It's a $41,000 appropriation to supplement their 2012 operating budget.
I want to pull that item.
Okay. So that has been pulled. Item 7B, Kirsten?
This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Littleton, Colorado, authorizing the acquisition of the Ridge Reserve subdivision for trade to the Littleton Cemetery Association for open space property.
Okay, the City Council is being requested to approve the acquisition of approximately 1.1 acres of land at the Ridge Reserve. This property is located on the southwest corner of Ridge and Prince. Ridge Reserve is a 4-lot undeveloped subdivision adjacent to property owned by the Littleton Cemetery Association. And the intent of this acquisition is to take title to the land and trade it to the Littleton Cemetery Association for an equal amount of cemetery property at the west end of Ridge Road adjacent to the city ditch. This property was identified by the Littleton Open Space Task Force for acquisition. The cost for this property is approximately $275,000.
I'd like to pull that.
Okay, that's been pulled. 7C, Kirsten?
This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Littleton, Colorado, authorizing a land exchange between the city and the Littleton Cemetery Association for vacant land at the southwest corner of Ridge Road and South Prince Street, also known as Ridge Reserve Subdivision.
This is somewhat dependent on the passing of 7B. This would essentially authorize the land swap.
I'd like to pull that also just because of the relationship to B.
Okay, that's been pulled. And so we go back to 7A. Councilmember Cernanek?
Yes, I'm not opposed to the $41,000 expenditure at this point in time, but before we address that expenditure, would like to at least have some discussion or acknowledgement that we have some sort of time frame where we will have an approach where our expenditure stream will be more predictable than it is, and that the city, along with Englewood, doesn't become the supporters of last resort and just be the two members that are required to make up the difference in the cost structure, and that it's important that we have some sort of time frame as to when we're looking to see that alternative approach can be established.
I can try to address that a bit for you. One of the things that I'm pursuing is a meeting with mayors and managers from 8 other jurisdictions to discuss the possibility of an IGA intergovernmental agreement with the Humane Society, which would essentially give us all more equality in terms of our relationship with the Humane Society, and would also fix our rates, fix our levels of service, and then would be able to guarantee us contract duration, a 2-year or 3-year contract with appropriate increases as necessary. But all of it would be be written out very clearly in the agreement. That meeting is being put together. It's intended to happen before the end of the month, but we're trying to get 16 people all at the same time, so we're juggling schedules. So that is actually kind of a first step for us in terms of looking at what we can do to get this firmed up. The other thing that we're doing is that the managers and mayors from both Inglewood and Littleton are meeting with the Humane Society on an as-needed basis, and what we're doing is working with them on some of their needs of getting better financial information from them, having them give us better information in terms of what the rates are and what's going on. They have provided us some information, and I think we've met with them prior to our group study session meeting, and at this point, we're waiting until we conclude a meeting with the IGA before we get back together with them. So while I can't give you a timeline, I can assure you that the intention is to get this firmed up so that before we go into another year with an agreement with them, that we have got it a lot more clearly defined, and we know exactly what's going to happen, and that Littleton and Inglewood are not bearing the brunt and having to hand out, an extra check mid-year. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
And if I may, I think the timing of last resort is the 2013 budget, because that's when I think this council and what I heard from the Inglewood Council is we're not continuing to do this beyond this year. And so we've got to figure this out in order for I think both councils, because you're both, I think, going to demand that what we put in the budget for next year is what you are paying for that service, what we collectively have agreed to pay for that service. And so to the mayor's comments, that's when we have to get it done by.
Yeah. And I just wanted to make sure we had that discussion on that time frame and resolution, that it becomes more predictable. With that, I move to approve an expenditure of $41,000 to the Humane Society of South Platte Valley for fiscal year 2012 operations.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the expenditure of $41,000 to Humane Society. Everybody vote.
The vote is unanimous. The motion carries.
Okay, 7B, that was pulled by Council Member Beckman.
Charlie, it'd be really helpful if you could put the map up that shows that subdivision. Could you take a moment to explain what exactly is going to happen?
Council, I'm Charlie Boston. I'm the City of Littleton Public Services Director. I've been working on open space acquisitions now for a long time. This one proposed to you from the Littleton Open Space Task Force involves acquiring the property at the southwest corner of Prince Street and Ridge Road. This is Prince Street here, Ridge Road. The property called Ridge Reserve is right here. The reason it's called Ridge Reserve is because that's the name of the subdivision that was platted several years ago for 4 houses, 4 lots on this property. As anyone knows who's driven by this property, which is in central Littleton, it is undeveloped at this point. The owners have placed it on the market at $350,000. I have presented an offer to them that our appraiser says is appropriate at $275,000, and they have verbally accepted that position. If the council authorizes this acquisition, the proposal in front of you with the next item is to trade it to the Littleton Cemetery Association, which owns a very large parcel on Prince Street to the north, but they also own most of the property on the south side of Ridge Road to the west of the Ridge Reserve. There's a small office building right here that they occupy for their use. The cemetery has shown an interest in allowing the city to have this property in exchange for the property of the southwest corner, at which point they would use it for future grave sites. Realizing that they have quite a bit of empty ground on their land right now, it would not be used for quite some time. It would be a square foot per square foot trade with no cash involved. Council, if you have some questions, I'll be glad to address those.
Any questions?
I have a comment.
Bruce?
A couple things concern me about this activity. One is, I think it's really important that the community knows when we're getting ready to do something that potentially can affect land values in a part of, or property values in a part of the city. And this will be the first time that many people have heard that this is going to happen. I think it's a good idea that we're acquiring the land that we would acquire for open space, because that is a part of the master open space plan that we have. But my concern is that the area of the ridge, the four property locations there that are at the corner of Prince and Ridge, has not been anticipated by anybody that owns property in that area to be a potential cemetery. And I think that has issues that perhaps the public should know. The other thing that concerns me is if this is something that the Cemetery Association would like to do, I'm a little concerned that we're being the horse trader and making that happen, when perhaps that could happen without our significant involvement in that trade. It could happen without our involvement. It could be just two clear-cut transactions. But then my final issue would be the presumption might be made that those four lots are then ready to go for that purpose. And I believe there's a zoning change or land use change that might have to be made at the corner of Prince and Ridge. So all these things have not been presented to the public or discussed here.
Any other comments? Jim?
Well, I think we need to tie in 7C with this discussion as well, because the reason why the trade needs to be made, you might have Charlie explain why that reason is and how close it is to the city ditch that we want to utilize.
Charlie?
Council, the City Ditch Trail project, which appears to be in the never-ending design phase, is proposed to be extended along, I can do this a little bit, along this alignment right here. This is the original city ditch shown right there. It's actually in its original form from 1860. It's one of a few places in Littleton that the ditch has not been covered or piped. If you walk along that ditch, it is exactly the same as it was 152 years ago. Our goal is to install a pedestrian trail adjacent to that ditch for people to use as an historic walking trail all the way from Lee Gulch on the south up north towards Big Dry Creek. This section, much of this land right now is already owned by the city along here. The parcel that the cemetery would like us to trade for is on occasion used by the railroad or RTD as a staging area for when they have derailments within the railroad depression or a nearby location. To be honest about it, that happens approximately once every 10 to 12 years, so it doesn't happen a lot. The one thing that I can say about the railroad's use of the property is they are extremely good at restoring it back to the condition before they used it. And if the city owned this as natural open space, it could be used by the railroad as a staging area for them in the case they have an emergency within the depression. As a result, the city gets a benefit from that. Otherwise, they would have to go to another location to stage for derailment emergencies, such as on the west side of the railroad tracks near that service station opposite Hudson Gardens on Santa Fe Drive. So there's an advantage there. In addition, it would give us trailhead parking, trailhead access, place to put a shelter, maybe a bench, possibly historical education information for the City Ditch Trail. So we have a dual use. The railroad was interested in doing this because they have to deal with the cemetery, which is a private organization. The cemetery, if they put grave sites on that property, then would prohibit the railroad from using their property for staging. So they were very interested in acquiring the property at the corner of Prince and Ridge.
That is the history of the trade. In that part, the cemetery doesn't have the cash to buy the land at Prince and Ridge. The point would be that we would acquire it and then trade it to them, and there's no cash involved in the trade. Councilman Sinanek?
Yeah, I think, let me ask a question that I think Bruce was getting close to. If I look at the Ridge Reserve 4 pieces of property, they abut property that's to the south there that already abuts Littleton Cemetery. This would extend the boundaries of their property to abut what potentially would be additional cemetery space. In other words, they already abut it. This just makes it a little bit more than that. Has that property owner been contacted or discussed with about this trade?
I have not talked to that individual.
Yeah. And just, could you clarify for me, additional land use decisions would have to be made before that could be used, since they were changing the nature of that land?
It would require a rezone.
Rezone, okay. Okay. Any other?
Charlie, Jim?
No, but a rezone is going to require 2 public hearings at least.
Charlie, do you have any idea what the timeline that the cemetery believes it would be before they were utilizing that
For grave sites?
for grave sites?
It would be quite a while. It would be the last parcel that they would intend to use for graves. They have no grave sites at all south of Ridge Road. And so they own quite a bit of land here, and they would then use that land first for grave sites, as finally getting to the Ridge Reserve property. If you feel appropriate, we could add into the agreement that they would need to go through the rezone process to allow grave sites on that property and eliminate the use right now that is residential.
And do it sooner rather than later.
I could do it immediately, yes.
I'm ready to make a motion then.
Okay.
So I have a question. So in that particular piece right adjacent to Prince, there's not a good sidewalk piece there. If we did a swap, would they or we or somebody make that sidewalk?
Councilman Cole, you're raising a very good question, because right at the corner, for pedestrian access, it's difficult.
Yeah.
It looks like it's been there for 75 years without any work being done on it.
It gets exciting there sometimes.
Yeah. That's a pretty easy construction project for us to pursue if we want to. There was, on the Ridge Reserve plan, the intent of having a sidewalk on Ridge Road from Prince to the driveway access road into the subdivision. Without a subdivision, you won't need driveway access, and I don't see any reason to put a sidewalk on the south side of Ridge Road. But the one on the west side of Prince Street is definitely in need of improvement.
Yeah.
And again, we can do that work ourselves through our concrete program.
Okay.
That pedestrian access is minimal at best.
Bruce?
I move the city council authorize the acquisition of the Ridge Reserve property located at the southwest corner of Ridge Road and South Prince Street for $275,000 using the open space fund for the purchase.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve or authorize the acquisition of the Ridge Reserve for $275. Ready to vote?
Well, so are we going to have what Charlie said he would do, put the contingency in? Does that need to be part of a motion?
I think
I
that's
don't think
part
so.
of the next item. The modification to have the property rezoned for the cemetery would be the next item on the agenda. The concrete work, Council, that's an administrative
I
item.
don't- yeah,
I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Are you guys ready to vote?
The vote is 6 in favor. The motion carries.
Okay, Bruce?
I think all the questions that I had for C have been answered.
Okay.
Unless someone else had a question.
Do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, if I can find it on my little...
I know, I'm looking too. Tell me what page it is.
Okay.
41.
I got it.
22 is the motion.
I move the agreement between the City of Littleton and the Littleton Cemetery Association regarding a land exchange of properties on Ridge Road be approved.
Need a second?
I'll second.
We have a
And is this
motion
when
and-
we want the contingency then? Do we want to say with a contingency of a
Rezone.
rezone?
We can note that administratively.
Okay,
Second.
okay. So we have a motion and a
Harvey
second.
seconded.
Seconded by Jim. Ready to vote?
The vote is 6 in favor, the motion carries.
Okay. Now we are on item 8A. Kirsten? Oops.
This is an ordinance of the City of Littleton, Colorado, amending and repealing portions of the City Code, Title 6, Chapter 4, pertaining to the general offenses.
Okay, council, this is a public hearing. This is also our second reading. This is to repeal and reenact portions of Chapter 3, 4, and 7 of Title 6 of the City Code. We approved it on first reading, and a public hearing was held. Staff has received no public comment between first and second, and council requested that that staff provide 2 additional definitions, which were done. These are non-substantive changes. Kirsten, do you want to make any presentation on this?
You know, unless you have questions, I think we covered most of it last time. We did add the 2 definitions. I think it was the definition of minor and a definition of analingus in the code, and those are covered, and so we are good to go, I think.
Okay, any other questions from council? Okay, this is a public hearing, so we will open the public hearing. If anybody wants to come down and address this issue, please do so now. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
I move to approve the ordinance repealing and reenacting portions of Chapters 3, 4, and 7 of Title 6 of the City Code.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready to vote? A yes vote approves this.
The vote is 6 in favor, the motion carries.
Okay. First. Oh, jeez. What page? Just a minute.
I think it's draft.
Yes, I will.
Accept the draft. Or authorize the signature, mayor's signature.
Right, 83. Is that 11B?
No,
9A.
We're on 8, aren't we?
8A.
9A.
8B, or
We're on 9A.
Nay.
9A. What page is it?
Page 76 is the signature page, if that's helpful.
Where's your thing?
There's no paper. Oh, yeah, there is.
Okay, well, this lesson learned, write down page numbers. When they're this long. All right.
An attorney's involved, that's why.
While you're doing that, do you want me to start talking?
Yes, please do. We'll get to it.
It didn't have a council communication, so that's why you're having a hard time
Oh,
finding
I
it.
got it. Okay, this is page 68.
Okay.
This is the Denver Regional Sustainable Communities Initiative. Okay, I'm sorry.
Councilman Taylor.
Okay, Councilman Taylor, please.
Okay. This draft was sent out to the 86 partners that are part of this consortium that's put this grant together. They privately have raised $7 million to go along with the $4.5 million that was granted to the consortium by HUD. And it is primarily planning for regional corridor and site-specific projects, primarily along 4 transit lines: the west, the east, the gold, and the northwest. Those are the the west is already under construction, will be opening up next year. The other three are part of the P3 project that's under design right now, and we'll start construction in various phases as they get the design completed. There's a 20-member executive committee that kind of oversees this grant. I'm the co-chair of that committee. We are meeting tomorrow morning to look at all the comments that might have been made by the 86 partners and finalize the agreement. We will hope to have the agreement rewritten with the changes made in it by Friday, and we'll start sending it out for signatures. We need the signatures on this to meet the federal deadline by, I think it's June 15th. We have to have the signatures into HUD from the 86 partners. So it'll be a fast track after we get everything on Friday. So I'd like to see this approved. We did pass a resolution, and I happened to bring it with me tonight because I found it in my files, of endorsing this 2 years ago. We passed a resolution to endorse this grant. So we have already taken that action, and that's, I guess, how I got to be co-chair, plus some other things. But anyway, I would also like to have the ability to be the signator on the document. That makes me the point person. I'm going to be attending all these meetings anyway, and it stops somebody else from having to go downtown and attend these meetings as well. So,
Jim, with this, I think the important thing for here is recognizing that the primary focus of the corridors are not necessarily ones that Littleton is on, but the regional aspects of the overall transportation improvement, both with light rail system, completion or not of 470 that can be impacted by some of this, all fits in looking at the desire to make the entire region easier to move across multimodal approaches, including public transport as well as vehicular traffic, and also for businesses to ensure that there is the ability to transport goods across the region is all included in some of this as the regional nature that's included in MetroVision.
and also they're required by the grant to, on their site-specific catalyst sites, to be replicable, so that we've got some vacant land very close to our mineral station. And so what they are doing in some of these other sites, we might be able to not try to reinvent this wheel again, but be able to duplicate that for our site at Mineral. And to some extent, it would play out with the downtown site, downtown light rail station, but that's a little more difficult because it's so built up and the zoning is quite different there.
Do you need a motion on this, Tim?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, I move that we endorse the Denver Region Sustainable Communities Initiative Consortium Agreement, updated draft of May 14, 2012, and authorize James Taylor to be the signator on the part of the City of Littleton.
Get a second?
A second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Ready to vote?
The vote is 6 in favor. The motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. 11A
This
is, go ahead, Kristen.
This is an ordinance of the City of Littleton, Colorado, amending portions of Title I, Chapter 6 of the City Code pertaining to the municipal court.
This is also a public hearing. It's on first reading. Kirsten, do you want to make a little bit?
So this is, this entire chapter needed some revisions, and so we did it all at once. It's a single subject, but it's scattered a little bit throughout. We took out, just as we've done all along since you all were newly seated, we took out the provision that is covered in charter, and that's how many judges, assistant judges will be set. That's covered in Section 58 of the Charter. We removed the kind of report that the municipal court administrator would generate because that's an administrative issue that the city manager will handle. One of the more substantive things that we covered in here was the default process. In 2011, you did institute a collections procedure in the court, and you did that by ordinance, but what was not done at that time was put into the city code the default process, and Judge Anderson wanted us to make sure that that was in the code because that's consistent with what other jurisdictions do. And the default process will cover all traffic infractions, including parking tickets. So an unpaid parking ticket could go to default and then essentially to collections.
Is that default part in what's before us for 11A, or isn't that in 11B?
11A, 1-6-16.
Got it. Okay.
Then we have a new probation department is not exactly, probation officer that's assigned now to the courts, and so we had that position more adequately reflect what the position does, and that's 1-6-16. And then the other thing that we did, we covered this in a study
Kirsten,
session.
I think that's 17.
Excuse me?
I think that was 17.
1-6-17?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the final thing that we did here was when we had the study session with you all, we discussed allowing the judge to set court costs annually, and that way we can keep up with what's consistent in the time and jurisdiction. And so the presiding judge, if this passes, will do that administratively.
Okay. Council, any questions for Kirsten? Jim?
I would just make a comment that I really like this process you used in this ordinance of strikeouts and capitalizing. I think that helps me understand what's happening a lot more clearly.
Okay, any other questions, Peggy?
Yeah, I hope I get straight where I scribbled on the paper, because it was too complicated to try to put it on the iPad.
A first grader could do it, as we learned the other day.
Well, it's a lot of writing, but anyway, so on the first page of the ordinance at the bottom, if the city manager and the presiding judge don't agree on the duties, what happens?
Can you speak up just a little bit? We can't
If
hear
the
you.
city manager and the judge don't agree on the duties to be assigned, what happens?
I think, are you talking about 1-6-9?
Yeah.
It's the appointment that's with the assent of the presiding judge.
No, and will have such authority and functions as prescribed by them. I assume the city manager and the presiding judge jointly prescribing authority and functions.
Yes, so that would be something that they would have to collaborate on, and I guess since they're both appointed officials, if there was any, disagreement, that would be taken up with city council.
Yeah, we can them both.
Take them out back.
Right.
Okay, I'm just asking, okay. And then, on the second page, since we're striking about the sending copy of the statement of conditions of probation to the police department, where it shall be kept on file, how will the police know what the conditions are? And I ask that because I was on a ride-along a week ago, and something was not entered into the system yet for county court issue, and so there was quite a disappointing confusion over something. So how...
I'm going to ask our city prosecutor to address that for you. This is Tricia McCarthy.
Not everything would be reported to the police department. There are certain conditions, for example, things that are on a no contact order or a modified protection order, that are reported to CBI and kept there for the police department to access when they run a person through the system. So those type of items would include having no alcohol consumption, having no firearms, and then no contact with the victims or witnesses in the crime. Or the modified protection order element basically states that they cannot harass, intimidate, annoy, threaten, essentially commit another crime against those victim or witnesses. So all that information would be reported to the state for the police department to have access.
And what right now is the timing to get that into the system?
Under the law, it needs to be done within about a 48-hour period, and I would say that the clerks are doing it the same day. Our clerks are doing it the same day.
Okay. Because on the ride-along, it was several days after, but it involved county court, and it was a pretty sad thing because it hadn't apparently gotten into the system yet on a no contact that had been cleared. You know, the judge said it was okay to have contact. So I'm just looking at the process here for the people that this affects. So,
well, I can tell you that I'm pretty confident that we're getting that done the same day.
okay.
Wendy could probably speak more to that, but it was an issue in the past, and I made sure that we tried to keep on top of that. And to the best of my knowledge, it's all being done the same day.
Okay.
The
so we're doing better
entry
than
and
the
also
county.
the deletion.
We're doing better than the county then on getting stuff in
Of
the
course
system.
we are.
Okay.
Good
As long
answer.
as we are, I'm happy with that. So,
And as to other probation conditions, we don't report them outside the court. So those type of conditions wouldn't necessarily affect the police department's ability to do their job. What would typically happen if there was something that was going on with probation and the police department brought us another case, then that would be something that myself and the probation officer would catch, and then we would notify the judge.
okay.
So, Tricia, with that, it says right now that, or at least the part that's being taken out, is that the clerk of the municipal court would be the one responsible for that reporting. Is that redundant, and that's why it's being struck from this, or is it covered elsewhere as to who has the responsibility for that reporting?
Why I struck it?
Line 41. Line 41.
Yeah, it's lines 40 to 42.
Which page?
This was done because we're handling it through the clerk, an administrative issue through the clerk, and it just didn't need to be in the code.
That's fine. I just want to make sure it's addressed.
Peggy, do you have more?
No, but when we get a motion, I want to suggest an amendment.
Any more questions, council? Okay, this is a public hearing. It's a first reading. And if anybody would like to come down and address council on this issue, please do so now. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
I move to approve the ordinance on first reading, repealing, amending, and adding provisions to Title I, Chapter 6 pertaining to the functions of municipal court.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. Peggy?
Yes, on the third page of this, it says in the bold type that's new, all types of court costs shall be set by the presiding judge on an annual basis. So I'd like to comment before I make a motion.
What line are you on?
Oh, I'm sorry, near the bottom.
Line
It's
43.
page
I'm sorry, there's
81.
all that other bold type, I'm sorry.
Page 81, line
43, 44. Everybody there? I did look at several cities on this, and I think I think it would be important to have the council enact those based on recommendation of the presiding judge. That is done at least in some other cities. And having attended court a few times recently, I have heard the judges, well, one judge in particular, point out that the fines and the court costs and so forth are set by the council, which seems to lift it above the individual presiding judge setting those. It just, to me, is a good part of the process for us to understand and know what those costs are. And it would take, I'm assuming, very, very little time whenever the presiding judge recommends that they be updated. So I want to, I move to amend line 43 to read, all types of court costs shall be enacted by council upon recommendation of the presiding judge on an annual basis.
I'll second that because I think I need some more explanation.
Okay, we have a motion for an amendment and a second. Discussion, or shall we ask Kirsten to? Bruce?
Well, I have a question about what those costs, are they variable? Could they be variable, or could they be situational? Or are they appropriate to be on a schedule and be enacted?
Well, this would be contrary to the direction that we got from you in the study session, because this would require every time we want to increase costs to keep up with what's going on in other jurisdictions and the cost of the work, we're going to have to come back for a first and second reading. So as a matter of efficiency, I mean, maybe that is in other codes, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily the right way to do it. As a matter of efficiency, I think this was what we believed was the better route.
Question on this is, would it be too far outside to look for this process of the annual setting to be done in conjunction with the budget cycle and possibly the court costs endorsed by the council as part of the budget cycle? Does that kind of keep it in kind of the spirit of what we talked about?
I think from a procedural thing, there's no difference. I mean, that's an implementation component of timing for it. And I'm answering because I think that's more process administration piece.
Right.
The policy thing is, do you want to authorize the presiding judge to set those fees or not? And the timing by which, if the answer is no, we want those to come to council. When you look at the other fees that we have, we're trying to move those out of the code and move those into administration for the same reason that Kirsten mentioned, is for efficiency of it. We still, by law, have to have those fees be commensurate with the service that we're providing, but to come and codify those fees. So this is in service of that. Whether or not that was the thought at the time during the study session, I don't know.
Yeah, personally, rather than having them, having to come to council and set their, because they're constrained to be somewhere inside the range of actual costs. So I understand that. Although I would support the awareness of council as to what those are, and that we have a chance, and administratively would see that to be pretty reasonable if it's coming through in the budget process time frame. So with that and an understanding of how I'd like to, or how I would be comfortable administratively, I guess my position might be one that would say council doesn't have to approve them.
If there was a desire on an annual basis to see any fees that had changed, and not just within the court system, but anywhere, I mean, that certainly would be the appropriate time, is to bring it forward to the council and say, here's the administrative fees that were amended during the year as an FYI, and it would give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you would have associated with that.
Any other comments? Jim?
I seem to recall in years past, and I've got a lot of experience up here with years past, that we have adopted a fine schedule for the courts. And so whenever Peggy said a while ago, fines set by the council, I think we have done that. And
Well, we have the penalty provision that is adopted by ordinance, and the judge actually has a fine schedule that he follows in the bench book. But you're right, a fine would be different than the actual court costs. And that has been done by council.
Okay, any other discussion on the amendment?
could I ask Peggy to repeat it, please?
Yes, Peggy?
Oops. Okay, amend lines 43 and 44 to read, all types of court costs shall be enacted by council upon recommendation of the presiding judge on an annual basis.
Ready to vote?
The vote is, Councilmember Cole voted yes, and the remainder voted no. The motion fails. Sorry.
Okay, we're back to the original motion,
I will get this someday.
which was to approve. Where is it? Approve the ordinance on first reading, repealing, amending, and adding provisions to Title I, Chapter 6 pertaining to the functions of municipal court. Any discussion? Ready to vote?
The vote is 6 in favor. The motion carries.
And I do have a request administratively. Can you make the his be his or her or whatever, where we have just the male pronouns in there? I think there may be only one, but
As long as we're not following exactly what state law said, yes, I will do that.
okay.
Okay, we are on 11B, right?
11B,
Kirsten?
yes. This is an ordinance of the City of Littleton, Colorado, amending Title IX, Chapter 1, Section 2, pertaining to traffic violations and penalties.
Okay. Kirsten, you want to elaborate a little?
Yes, this was another concern of Judge Anderson's that he brought to us to request that we put this before you. We decriminalized traffic infractions, and in 2010, we adopted the Model Traffic Code and specifically opted out of the state penalty provisions. And what that means is that a traffic infraction is subject to a maximum of a $1,000 fine, and that traffic offenses, on the other hand, can be a fine and or jail. And in the Model Traffic Code, I don't know really how it happened. I don't know if it was inadvertent, but there was a provision under low-speed electric vehicles that at least implied that for those sorts of violations that jail could be imposed, which is not the way the law, that would not be permissible under the law. So we're just clarifying that the low-speed electric provision is a traffic infraction subject only to our maximum fine penalty.
Okay. Council, questions? Okay, this is a public hearing on first reading, so if anybody would like to come down and address council on this issue, please do so now. Seeing no one, I need a motion.
I move to approve the ordinance on first reading, repealing Section 9-1-2, paren F, and adding subsection paren E to 9-1-12, of the City Code.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Council, any discussion? Seeing none, ready to vote?
The vote is 6 in favor. The motion carries.
Okay.
Could I just make a general comment?
Yes.
Because I'm up here using a laptop, and you guys are telling about what page. I don't have any page numbers. I don't know how Dr. Cog does it, because the people who take their laptops to Dr. Cog do have page numbers on all of their sequential, because we sometimes will have well over 200 pages in our council packet for that night. I don't know what we do, and I'm not sure I need it. I guess it's just a general comment.
Take it over to Field Elementary.
And they'll figure out how to do it for me.
And Jim, there's actually two different ways to open the document. One has the entire document in one, and I have it opened in pieces so I can go from item to item easier. At least I find it that way. And so mine does not have the numbers. So when they're talking about 68 or 66, I don't have that number either. So join me.
Well, I tell you, it takes too long for me to go piece by piece in this thing.
I'll see what I can do. I don't know. I got to look at it and see.
It's not critical. Just a comment.
Bruce?
Just along those same lines, we worked on my iPad today in Information Services, and it seemed to make sense in our discussion then that they take everything that they're putting on the FTP site and, if it's feasible, email it so that you would have another way to pull up documents that are attached and some of the other things. It would be very little effort, apparently. So I just want you to know that's coming too, is that whole
That's
discussion.
how I solved my problem for tonight, Bruce. I got it emailed to me
Yeah.
by Wendy.
There's always a workaround. Okay, Council, if there is nothing else, I would just like to remind everyone that we do have a breakfast on Thursday with the City Council and the Mayor of Centennial. So that will start at 7:30 promptly because we have a huge agenda, and we will adjourn by 9. So if there's no other business this evening, we're adjourned.
Do we have an agenda for that?